to Healing Cottage Homestead. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm so happy to have you with me today. So some of you are coming to me from what used to be Healing Place Cottage, and some of you are coming to me from what used to be the Quarter Acre Cottage Homestead, and I have combined those two. So now we have Healing Cottage Homestead, and that way I only have to maintain one channel and I can post content that is applicable to both. And there's always been crossover, so a lot of what I do is food preservation on the homestead side, and I use that food as part of my weight loss journey as someone who has diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So today what we're going to do is we're going to make and can white bean ragu. So today is the 30th day of the challenge in August, Every Bit Counts challenge, and it's all about preserving food one each day of August. And I have shared on Instagram and on YouTube and on Facebook everything that I have been either canning or freezing or pickling and fermenting. So today we're going to make white bean ragu, and this comes from the Complete Guide to Pressure Canning from the Canning Diva, and it's found on page 84, and it's white bean ragu. So this recipe typically makes 12 pints. Because I have a Nesco canner, I can only hold 5 pints. So I am going to cut this recipe in half. And then what doesn't fit into the pints, I will go ahead and eat for dinner tonight. So the first thing that we want to do is get the dried cannellini beans. I've already rinsed those and gone through those, and we want to add those to a pot on the stove, and we're going to cook those for 1 hour, where we're going to cover and simmer on low for 1 hour. So I'm going to go ahead and get, here's 1 cup, and then a half a cup. And I'm actually just going to use the rest of these. So it's more like 2 cups. It does call for 2.5 cups. No, I'm not. I'm going to do a half a cup. I'm too new to canning to make things up on my own. So we'll go ahead and move these to the side. And then I already have water, and we want to cover these with 2 inches of water. And then we're actually going to save some of this cooking water. That's perfect. So I'm going to turn the stove on and bring that up to a boil, and then reduce the heat, cover and simmer on low for 1 hour. And then we're going to save a cup of the cooking liquid to go along with our beans. This recipe calls for cherry tomatoes, so I am going to go ahead and wash up. It calls for 3 pints, so we're going to half that, which will be about 1.5 pints. I'd say that's about half of that, what I have in there. And I'm going to give these a rinse. And then the recipe calls to cut our cherry tomatoes in half. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So have any of you been doing this Every Bit Counts challenge this month? It was definitely challenging to me to make something every single day. There were some times where I would double up and make a couple things on one day and then just share on each individual day. But this will bring me up to 197 jars. So I'm close to the 200 mark. Definitely will get there before the end of summer. My garden is not done producing, and my zucchini were infested with squash bugs. And so there's a bad spot on that tomato, so I'll just cut that in half and cut that off. But my zucchini were infested with squash bugs shortly after the season began. I had zucchini early, and so early June I had zucchini, and that was awesome. But they, like I said, they got infested with squash bugs. So I had to pull my plants and I replanted, but I don't think that I'm going to have enough time to get another crop. I was hoping to at least get enough to freeze a couple shredded zucchinis to use for zucchini bread over the winter. I make one zucchini bread that I take to dinner parties and things. That is a cheddar and jalapeno zucchini bread, and I did grow my own jalapenos this year, and they have been successful, and so I'll be freezing those. And I make another regular zucchini bread that my stepmother absolutely loves, and loves for me to bring that over to her. She's even requested it a couple of times, so I would love to have some fresh zucchini in the freezer so that I could do that. Of course, I can use zucchini that's out of season, but you know it's just not as good. So, but this week has been in the 90s. Today, I think there's a heat advisory, and it's 95, I think, today. And so if they're gonna grow, this week will definitely give them an advantage. We're almost done with cutting our tomatoes in half. I do have a plethora of cherry tomatoes, but I eat those about as quickly. I have 2 or 3 plants, and I eat those pretty quickly. I have some in I do a yellow cherry tomato, and I think they're not called Sun Gold, maybe Sugar Sweet, if that's a variety. They do very, very well. I actually have a volunteer plant from last year, and really, really enjoy those, and they take no maintenance. I have had splitting on my regular tomatoes, and I've had blossom end rot on my regular tomatoes, and I don't have those problems with the cherry tomatoes. So I have even added those cherry tomatoes to some of my canned tomatoes when I had just an abundance of them. So I think that's all of the cherry tomatoes that we're going to make for right now. And then I need to cut a cup of onion. And this onion is getting soft a little bit, so let me take a look at this and see what it looks like. I don't want to use it if it is not good. It is not good. And we have a boil on our beans. So I'm going to cut that heat down to simmer, and I'm going to turn the timer on for 60 minutes. I need to put one of those little, I have a, it's a shelf liner, but it's the kind that won't it won't let things move. I have one of those under my white cutting board, but I need to put one under my wood cutting board as well. So let's give this onion a try. There, yeah, it's much better. I don't know if these are still available, but my aunt bought me this for Christmas one year from HSN, Home Shopping Network, and it is absolutely a lifesaver. Might be too full, we'll try it, and if it is, we'll take some out. It is. I do that pretty regularly. I'm actually going to stop using this wood cutting board because I'm afraid with all the chopping and such that I am going to mess something up. When you know this wouldn't work properly when I just raved about it. Like I said, we need a cup. And if you do get one of these, be very careful with the blade because it is very sharp. And for those of you who were concerned, I shared that I had sliced my finger, the tip of my finger off with my mandolin slicer when I was making, this is a strong onion, when I was making slicing onions for canning French onion soup, and I'm completely healed. So no infection and everything went well. I did make sure that even though I bandaged it up, that I had air getting to it, and I think that helped in the healing process. I think I'll probably forever have a crooked fingernail because it sliced off half of my fingernail, but that's okay. No stitches were required and I'm all healed. Okay, so let's see what else we need. So we used 1.5 cups of beans. We've got 1 cup of white onions. Now we need 3 cloves of garlic minced. And I do have fresh garlic. I don't grow my own garlic. I may do that next year. I don't know. But I do buy garlic that's already peeled. These are small cloves, so I'm going to use a little bit more because I absolutely love garlic. And when I'm cooking, I will use the already minced garlic, but when I am canning, I don't want to use that. I'm not really sure that there's a reason why. I just think that this tastes a little fresher, and I like that for canning. This recipe they recommend to serve with fish, and I think I have cod and I have halibut. And that's one of the big reasons why I decided to combine my channel, because I would like to then show you using this recipe that we're making and how I turn that into a meal on a weeknight when it's super easy to do, to use these canned things that we can. You know, you have to invest the time one day to do the canning itself, and it takes several hours. Most of that time is in the canner, so it's not active cooking time, but active prep time, but it's active cooking time. And yeah, I just want to be able to share with you how I use those things. And if you don't have a canner, that's okay. You don't have to have one, but you can make this same recipe, modify size-wise, so that you can make it to eat with whatever it is that I'm making it with. So let's see what else we need. We need a teaspoon of coarse sea salt. We need a fourth of a teaspoon of black pepper. 4 cups of vegetable broth. You can use chicken broth. I'm going to use vegetable broth. And a half a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. So I'll get that. So we have about 45 minutes left before we can put our recipe together. And I will come back when that is done and we'll do our next steps. Okay, our timer has just gone off. So we're going to go ahead and pull out 1 cup of the liquid, and we're going to drain our beans. So our next step is to combine our onions, garlic, our oil, salt, and pepper. So 1/8 of a cup of olive oil, we're going to add our onions, garlic, salt, and pepper. Our onions, garlic, and because we're canning, we want to make sure that we do not use iodized salt, so we want to use a half a teaspoon of sea salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So we're going to let this cook for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to add our broth and bring that to a boil. Our onions are translucent. We're going to go ahead and add 4 cups of vegetable broth. We're going to bring that to a boil. Okay, we're at a boil, and now we're going to add our drained beans. And the tomato halves. And our cup of reserved bean water. And 1/2 of a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. We're going to mix well, return to a boil, then reduce heat and simmer for 5 minutes. So I am going to fill these jars half full with just the bean and tomato mixture. And then I'm going to come back in and fill them with the liquid. We want to give it 1 inch headspace. Okay, now we want to wipe off our rims with some vinegar. This was a brand new set of jars and one of them had a broken top. I've never had that happen before. My lids are clean. I'm going to center those on each one. And then we're just going to put our jars, our lids, our rings on finger tight. If you haven't used an electric pressure canner before, they're a wonderful, wonderful invention. I have a Presto and a Nesco. I am new to canning. This year is my first year I ever pressure canned, and I love it. I love it for meals in a jar. But the instructions are the same whether you pressure can on your stove or whether you pressure can using your electric pressure canner. And so you start the process with the vent on exhaust. You press high, which is for pressure canning. And we're going to do these for 1 hour and 15 minutes, which is 75 minutes. And then we're going to press start. And then once it beeps again, it's going to come up at E10. It's going to count down to E0. Beep again. I'm going to put this on airtight. And then it's going to start the process of the 75 minutes. Even when it's on airtight, there is steam coming out of it. So don't be alarmed if that happens. So we will come back then in about 1.5 hours. Oh, no, we won't come back in 1.5 hours. Once that 1 hour and 15 minutes is over, then we need to let it sit, come down to pressure for 1 hour, and then we can open the lid and pull out our jars. So it'll be a couple hours. Okay, friends, it has been about 2.5 hours, and we can pull these out of the canner now. So we just open our lid. And I will tell you that this is the only negative about the Nesco pressure canner that is electric, is I can't, and I have tried 3 different grabbers. When I use wide mouth jars, there's not enough room. Well, there's some siphoning happening. There's not enough room to actually grab the jar. So I have ordered some pints with the regular mouth lid. There we go. Once you get that first one out, you're good to go. But but it's getting that first one out that is a real bear. Looks delicious. And that's it. I will let these jars cool for about 24 hours. And then once we'll check to make sure all the seals have popped and sealed. They'll go in, the little hump here will go in, it'll indent. And then I can remove the rings, because if you leave the rings on, that can cause a false seal. You won't know that your jar didn't seal properly because the ring will be keeping it on, and that won't be good food. You would need to eat that right away. So that's why we go ahead and take the rings off and know right away whether or not the seals are good. And I always mark my jars. Like I said, I'm at 197 jars, and I'll mark them with the date and what they are. And I will use this with chicken or fish as they recommend, and probably fish. I can see this being a really good dish with fish. And when I do that, I will share the nutrition information with you. So I can't wait to try these, and remember that every Sunday you will see more content like this, more food preservation, gardening. I did get a dehydrator, and tonight I get to take part in a community where we learn more about dehydrating. And I bought a book with 120 recipes, so we'll be doing more of that. And tell me in the comments the types of things that you would like to see me do. I can ferment sauerkraut. That's one of my favorite things to do. And making bread, and just anything that you might enjoy. Let me know in the comments and I will give it a try. Always remember that on Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. I'm going to post those diabetic friendly recipes. But remember, those are recipes that absolutely anyone can enjoy. The goal is to be eating under 45 grams of carbs, but eating delicious, healthy, home-cooked, and easy meals. As you know, I am somebody who really likes to go for easy, which is why I love canning and preserving, because now I can just go and grab this and put it with chicken or fish one night, and I have a great meal that's almost all already completed. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a like or a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel, Healing Cottage Homestead. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And I will continue to share my journey to wellness with you. As I mentioned, I'm now down 71 pounds, so yay, and we will continue the journey together. Thank you, and I enjoyed our time together today. I hope you did as well. Take care, friends.